I'd like to go ahead and call the Subcommittee on Higher Education to order. Would you please call the roll?
Senator Peterson,
Yes.
Senator Cosgrove, Senator Hashmi,
Here.
Senator Locke.
Present.
Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. We have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bills on our docket this afternoon. I don't see us overflowing with any patrons yet. So if we could try to contact individuals to get them either here so that we can start hearing. Hey, John. And just as an FYI, Senator Boysko's SB 611, we need to strike from the docket. So if I can have a motion to that effect.
So moved, Madam Chairman. What was the motion?
To strike Senate Bill 611, and Senator Cosgrove has moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 611 be stricken from the docket. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And Senator Hashmi is an aye. Okay, so Senator Edwards would like to have Senate Bill 420 stricken from the docket.
So moved, Madam Chairman.
You sleep at the wheel, Shep. Second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 420 be stricken from the docket. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And he has requested that Senate Bill 72 be passed by for the day.
So moved.
So Senate Bill 72, motion is to pass by for the day. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Senator Boysko.
Just ran up the stairs, so I'm a little bit winded. Which bill would you want me to start with?
Either one you want.
Thank you. So let's start with SB 439, Higher Education Nonprofit Public Hazing Policies. First off, Madam Chair, I have an amendment to correct a drafting error in line 67. The amendment strikes sexual violence, replacing it with hazing. And I intend that we will have a couple of other amendments as we move forward, just to perfect it further. Madam Chairwoman, I present, excuse me.
It's moved and seconded that we adopt the amendment. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I present SB 439, which updates and strengthens hazing policies at higher education institutions. This bill should be known as Adams Law. It's a companion to a second bill which I'm carrying that addresses the criminal code relating to hazing. My constituent, Adam Oakes, a 19-year-old student from Loudoun County, was tragically found deceased February 27th of last year in a house the morning after a Delta Chi fraternity party. He was hazed the night before and was told to drink what is called a handle of Jack Daniel's whiskey, and that is something that actually contains about 40 shots of bourbon. While we have anti-hazing laws in our code, they haven't been updated in many years. I believe the last update was 2014. And the stakeholders that I've been working with and I believe that we must increase the specificity of the policy in order to effectively eliminate this tragedy. I know that many of you were members of a fraternity or a sorority, and those ties you cherish to this day. This legislation is not in any way intended to attack our organizations that recruit and welcome new members safely. We know that all colleges and universities are working hard to prevent another tragic death, and we've identified a few areas that could have made a difference in Adam's case. There are points in the recruitment process that pose the greatest danger to our students, and we have some solutions for those. The current SCHEV guidance encourages training and adherence to its recommendations. SB 439 would provide more specific direction consistent with other hazing efforts throughout the nation. To be specific, it requires that an advisor must be present at all official events, including new and potential new members. The advisor shall, instead of may, undergo hazing prevention training. The advisors would provide all members and new members with extensive current and in-person education about hazing, the dangers of hazing, including alcohol intoxication and hazing laws and institutional policies, and with information explaining that the institution's disciplinary process is not to be considered a substitute for the criminal legal process. The institutions would provide this education to potential new members as well. Adam was a potential new member, and he did not undergo that training. Beginning with the 22-23 academic year, the bill would require each institution to maintain and publicly report actual findings of violations of the institution's code of conduct or a federal or state law enforcement, and post these on each institution's homepage, the Greek Life homepage, or its equivalent in prominent locations, and make a hard copy available for everyone, all of the attendees at the student orientations. And these institutions would provide publicly maintain these reports for a minimum of 10 years from the date of the initial disclosure. I have Adam's father and his cousin here today with us, and they're ready to share Adam's story and answer any questions about the work that we are doing nationwide to eliminate deaths from hazing. And there may be others who have lost loved ones who also wish to speak. We're here today as a result of the efforts to save others from this heartbreak of losing a beloved family member so young and in such a tragic and preventable way. And I ask that you listen to their plea, and I hope to see you report the bill. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, before you go on, luckily staff had a copy of this. LAS is not working. I just tried.
Oh, gosh.
So we have no text of this bill except for this piece of paper.
Madam Chair, should we ask questions, or is it better to have the family testify and then get to questions?
I would,
Microphone on.
Madam Chair, I think it might be nice to allow the family to
Sure.
say their
Okay.
piece. Thank you for indulging them.
We'll take the testimony first, and then we'll have questions. Those speaking in favor of this legislation, please come forward.
Hi.
My name is Courtney White. I've been an educator for 17 years in Fairfax County Public Schools. I am an alumni of Radford University, George Mason University, the University of Virginia, and now I'm a current doctoral student at Marymount University in Arlington. I'm a mother of 4 children who also attend VA schools, and I'm also the cousin of Adam Oakes, the recent hazing victim at the Virginia Commonwealth University. The reason that I'm here with you today is because I'd like to help prevent any more hazing deaths in Virginia, and we can accomplish this together. On February 27, 2021, our family received the most devastating news any family could receive. My cousin, Adam Jeffrey Oakes, was dead. Adam was a 19-year-old freshman at the Virginia Commonwealth University. He was found dead face down on the floor of a fraternity house the morning after a traditional and dangerous Big Little reveal night for the fraternity Delta Chi that he was pledging. The night before, he was handed copious amounts of alcohol, not knowing or seeing what was put in them, and was told to drink his family drink. Like Senator Boysko said, the bottle. I've spoken with 6 of the pledges there that night, and they were all hazed, including Adam. The brothers laid Adam on the floor of a cold, dark room in the fraternity house to sleep it off. But Adam would never wake up, so his first night as a Delta Chi ended up being his last. To no surprise, the medical examiner, through a vitreous test, calculated Adam's BAC at a 0.419, which is 5 times the legal limit. Tragically, though, Adam's story is all too familiar. There's been 10 hazing-related deaths in the state of Virginia and around 50 hazing incidents reported in our state, as I mentioned in multiple emails to your offices, and I mailed them too. Those deaths include Marvel Edmondson and Jawan Holmes, who in 2013 at the Virginia State University were forced to walk through the Appomattox River at 1 a.m. in the morning and to join the Men of Honor fraternity. The river current swept them away, and both men drowned. Their bodies were found 4 days later. In 2017, Harrison Carter Cole at Hampden-Sydney University was a newly initiated brother hazed for being the newbie, and he was forced to drink every time something was said in a movie. He was found dead from alcohol poisoning in the dorm room the next day. Hazing isn't just a state issue, it's a national danger to our children, our grandchildren, our nieces, our nephews, and our cousins, and our future. Adam is one of 6 hazing deaths in 2021 alone. That's the most since 2017. U.S. campuses have experienced at least 1 hazing death per year since 1959, with the exception of 2021 when campuses were closed. Over 100 deaths in the past 15 years, all were due to hazing. Hazing has to stop. But the question is how? As a nation, we are slowly but surely moving to protect our children when those in power above them endanger them by hazing. 12 states now, including Michigan, Florida, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, have felony hazing laws and also require education similar to what we're asking. 2 other states this month also just proposed a bill, Arizona and Washington State, bills similar to this one that's before you. A major question still lingers that I'm analyzing in my dissertation on the transformation of the anti-hazing movement is what can we do in Virginia to stop hazing in our high schools, our universities, and our student organizations. In 2012, Robert Champion was stomped to death joining the marching band in a hazing incident. So it's not just fraternities, it's not just sororities. What are our current practices against hazing, and where are the gaps between those practices and our children? We've strategically developed with Senator Boysko 2 possible solutions to end hazing in the state of Virginia. One is harsher penalties. Those who engage in hazing that result in a death or a serious injury would be a felony. Also, though, the hazing education bill that's in front of you today. We need your help, we need your support, we need your courage, and we need your strength to engage in this change. Virginia can demonstrate that hazing does not belong in our schools and that we, the people of Virginia, will take proactive measures to ensure its elimination from student organizations. The hazing education bill before you, Adams Law, proposes these things. It's all common language and definitions pertaining to hazing. The bill proposes that all advisors to student organizations are not students at that university, and they are not alumni of that organization. Research shows that part of the reason hazing has remained and intensifies over the year is because the alumni of the organizations are still involved in teaching these practices to the students with the mentality of, I went through it, you're going to go through it. And the advisor's role is to support leadership development of the organization. The advisor must remain on the premises for all events, including initiation and pledging events. They do not have to be in the room, but they do have to be on the premises. Advisors will also undergo anti-hazing training and then turn around and teach their student organization that training. This could be conducted during already established chapter meetings, rush events, student orientation, all of which advisors are already present. The anti-hazing message will be delivered to all members, new members, and potential new members through an in-person, current, and extensive discussion, not lectures, but engaging the students and their voice in the preventative work. In a majority of over 100 deaths due to hazing in the past 15 years, the pledges of those organizations have received hazing training through a single webinar. That webinar was not even offered to my cousin Adam while he was pledging Delta Chi, so he had zero knowledge of hazing or its prevention. The other boys in his pledge class were given the option of watching this webinar. The webinar was provided through the university, and it was as simplistic as a PowerPoint presentation. Someone talking at them, not engaging them in a conversation around it. Our final request through this bill is that all universities be required to document and make public all founded hazing incidents through a visual, acceptable, and easily navigated link on their homepage, Greek or sorority life page, or any page where families and potential new members can locate it. Information is power and empowers families to make better decisions. If these incidents were documented and easily found by our family and Adam, he would never have joined that fraternity. It's time to engage in change. Through this bill, Virginia could make students' health and safety a top priority. It would provide students with foundational knowledge, resources, and tools to identify hazing, stand up to it, and make decisions based on the factual evidence of the history and previous incidents of the student organizations. It would provide strategies and knowledge to all members, and potential new members. This bill provides the opportunity to protect our children as they take their first steps on a college campus, their first real taste of independence, and will not allow them to be preyed upon by organizations. A hazing education bill would give them the tools to identify, call action to, and deter hazing. You all have the extraordinary power to protect and save our children's lives by engaging in this change. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have others to speak? And if we could give brief remarks, please.
Hello. Hi, my name is Eric Oakes. I'm the father of Adam Oakes. We're here today to support Adam's Law. On February 27th, 2021, our 19-year-old son, freshman at VCU, died as a result of fraternity hazing during a traditional Big Brother pledging event. The fraternity invited Adam to rush the fraternity soon after a 4-year suspension for dangerous rushing behavior had been lifted. Fraternity members bought liquor and pressured him into drink, and drink more. When Adam passed out, they left him lying there on the cold, hard floor of the fraternity house. No one intervened to help. Adam never woke up again, and his first night as a pledge ended up being his last. I think about what happened to Adam, and I can't understand why nobody got him help. As I wrote this testimony, I was overwhelmed, covered in tears because of the deep sadness of not having our only child, Adam, with us any longer. Adam was our whole world. Try to imagine a world without your children. It's painfully desolate. The feeling of not protecting your child, coupled with having no purpose, is overwhelming. Adam never hurt anyone, and he didn't do anything to deserve this. Dying alone, and after pressured to drink in a fraternity hazing ritual. Adam was a wonderful son, grandson, nephew, cousin, friend to all that knew him. He was not one to pass judgment on anybody. Several of his friends have approached me and told me stories of how Adam made them feel comfortable. One boy said he was new to the U.S. and he had just moved down the street. He spoke very little English, and Adam took him under his wing. He introduced him to all the kids in the neighborhood, made him feel comfortable. Another child spoke on how Adam was the only kid that approached him on his first day of school, and Adam was the first person to share a seat with him on the bus. Adam also invited him to sit at his lunch table. Both of those children went on to be good friends with Adam for the next 15 years. One great thing about Adam is when he walked into the room, he would greet you with a huge smile, and he instantly made you feel so happy. We feel this legislation can help save lives. Adam's death was so senseless and meaningless. We feel that we need to bring awareness to help educate people about the dangers of hazing. First, students considering joining an organization need and deserve to know what dangers they face from hazing. Adam told us he was pledging for a fraternity. We didn't know the name of the fraternity. And we just went on the VCU website, and there's no information about fraternities or sororities, just some general information about Greek life. If there was some information about dangers of hazing and other organizations that had endangered students' pledges, would have been a better understanding of what joining a fraternity, sorority, team, club, organization is about. If you're joining a team, wouldn't you want to know if they had a history of hazing their members? Or if you're a young woman in a sorority going to a fraternity for a social event, wouldn't you find it helpful to know if that fraternity has had sexual assaults? Second, the legislation creates and strengthens advisors' roles in stopping hazing. Advisors can play a vital role in making sure organizations make good decisions and protect vulnerable students seeking to join. But they need to be trained to discourage and not look away when hazing starts. And those advisors, in turn, can start hazing conversations before rushing events start, not by lecturing members of the organization, but by really engaging with them so that everyone can see how wrong it is to force teenagers into dangerous behaviors that can seriously injure or kill them. In May, we started a foundation called the Love Like Adam Foundation that will educate rising high school seniors that are going into college about the dangers of hazing and how to identify it and report it. Hazing has drastically changed over the past few years. Most young adults aren't even aware that they have just been hazed. Through proper training, we will help them identify it and how to protect themselves before they start college. And this legislation will ensure that organizations empower students to address hazing once they are on campus. Our hope is that no other child must lose their life due to hazing. I feel this education law touches on a few items that will be a tremendous start for Virginia by accepting hazing as a problem and providing guidelines to prevent any other incidents. As we enter the new year, the feeling is, let's make meaningful changes. Adam's Law should not be a controversial topic. Let's all put aside our differences and come together on this one very important issue. Let's stop hazing in the Commonwealth of Virginia. We can only accomplish this through hazing education and awareness training. We can educate students at the middle school level all the way up to seniors getting ready to attend college. Freshmen in college are the most vulnerable because they've been living with their parents their whole lives. College is the first true feeling of independence. They are also extremely vulnerable. But it all starts with you. We need your support to implement this bill into law. We cannot do it alone. I'm here today humbly asking you please support this bill and let's make it into a law. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, are there questions from the committee?
Yes, Madam Chair. And first of all, I want to thank the family for being here, and what incredibly moving testimony that is. I have 4 children of my own, one who's through college, one who's in college, and one who's about to enter college. So I could not imagine. I was not a member of a fraternity. We didn't have them in my college. I played sports, and that had its own sort of hazing rituals. I had a daughter that was very active in her sorority at UVA. And the one thing I have is, and I have a second daughter who's going through Rush, literally as we speak. And to be blunt, this is more of an issue with young men than it is with young women. But this bill obviously is going to cover everybody. So I guess my very first question is, how are we going to deal with situations like Rush or other situations where sororities, you have young women that are making decisions, and you're right, they're showing their leadership for the first time. To the best of my knowledge, they do not bring faculty into that or advisors into that process. I don't know really what they do. They certainly doesn't tell her dad. But I don't really have, like I said, I sort of the Animal House, I get that, the men. but this is going to cover everybody. So what about other organizations that maybe alcohol is not a factor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Peterson. So the advisor for the student organization would be, and Courtney might like to answer this for you.
So in sororities, it's mostly physical, meaning that it's not that alcohol doesn't per se play a part. In sororities, they also have a family drink so that they're given. And they also have I was a member of one at Radford University. So they do, it is both. And I do understand what you're saying. They do have adults too that are a part of Rush that do kind of oversee the Rush process. So I think those Rush people, we need to ensure those are the advisors that are trained in the hazing training. And I also feel like, and I think we discussed this too, is making that a part of Rush, the hazing prevention training, is that it can be all new members, all members, and then all potential new members. So even making this, let's say, student orientation, or making this a part of the Rush event to say, should you engage in this, this is what the Virginia law says. Should you engage in this, this is, or even having them read that hazing definition. A majority of Adam's friends that I spoke to, because I interviewed 6 of the pledges there that night, a majority of them had no idea that they were even hazed, because their definition of hazing was so distorted from the reality of it. They didn't even understand or realize that they were hazed. I know when I was going through Rush, I didn't realize it. I just knew I was embarrassed by the things that I was having to do and be around. So I think also tackling that definition of hazing. So I understand what you're saying, but I think maybe that's where we start with this hazing prevention training, is during that Rush process, because there's multiple events of Rush. So for example, in Adam's case, he went through 5 Rush events.
Right.
Some were virtual because it was during the pandemic, and some were in person. But what's to say during those Rush events, we don't make it a requirement of the Higher Education Institute to do their very first session of anti-hazing training?
Well, let me just ask one follow-up question. I'll be happy to defer. I'm going to sort of take incidents involving alcohol and put those aside, because these are all minors. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think hazing with alcohol is already illegal, correct?
It is. It's a Class 1 misdemeanor.
So that's a Class 1 misdemeanor right now. So let's say, for example, they pick up the pledges and they go on a road trip, or they pick up the pledges and they drop them off in the woods and say, you got to walk back, or they pick up the pledges and say, you got to walk around campus wearing a sign say I'm a pledge, or wear a pin. Would all of that have to have a faculty advisor, or would have an advisor? I mean, there's a lot of ways you can haze people that have nothing to do with putting their lives in jeopardy.
What we're proposing, or what we're asking, is yes. We're asking for the advisor to be on the premises. Maybe they're not necessarily in the room at the house, but if they're having it. So right now, some universities even have to make the fraternities document their events.
Right.
So if they're going to do, Big Brother, they have to tell the university, this is the night I'm doing this. But it's not a requirement. It's just some universities trying to put in some of those boundaries and placements. What we're proposing is that those events won't occur unless the advisor is involved in some way, shape, or form.
Let me tell you, I about 95, maybe 98% of this legislation I think is wonderful. The only thing that gives me a little bit of pause is I do believe at some point you got to give young people the right to make their own decisions. Mm-hmm. And I don't think you always have to have an adult in the room. But I certainly understand with Adam's case that should never have happened, never.
So the advisor was there, and so that's kind of why we're looking into this advisor training, is because we're saying, okay, let's say he was there and he was on the premises and he could have stopped it, but he wasn't in the room.
Yeah.
So
if I see anybody, not just a 19-year-old, but having to drink a fifth of whiskey, I mean, you're not intervening unless something on you. So, all right, I'm done. That's enough.
I'm happy to see this legislation. I pledge a sorority, and hazing does happen with the women. And I was an advisor to an organization. And fortunately for my organization, it required advisor training. And my organization did require that the advisor be present at all events. And young women were told if an advisor is not present, you know you're in the wrong place if the advisor is not there. And so I'm happy to see this kind of legislation coming forward because hazing has gotten out of control. And I'm familiar with the incident with the band that happened, and I know where it happened. And so, and I agree the young adults should be making better decisions than they make. But sometimes they simply don't know what hazing is. Some of the hazing that happened to me was, say, the Greek alphabet backwards. You know, you just turn around and say it backwards. But sometimes, sometimes, kids, they were trying to say it from, omega to the, sometimes folks don't know that. But, I'm for one, I'm happy to see this kind of legislation come forward to prevent the kind of hazing that has escalated to the thug mentality. John, do you have any questions?
No.
Okay. Is there anyone here in opposition?
Do you want me to stay or go? You can come back. You could just sit right there and come back up if you need.
Okay. Do we have a recommendation?
I'll move to report.
Wake up, John.
Yeah. Madam Chairman, I'm going to go ahead and second the motion, just as a courtesy to Senator Boysko. However, when it does get to full committee, not having the text fully in front of us.
Sure.
And not
Yeah.
having a chance to really digest it, I don't want to hold it up.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I might, and I apologize, but this is an important bill. This bill's going to have some changes to it. I think there's a lot of substance here, but let's move it through this subcommittee. Thanks.
Okay, the motion is to recommend reporting to the full committee, Senate Bill 439. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And
Thank you,
Senator
Madam Chair.
Hashmi is an aye.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You have 454.
Yes, ma'am. This is the Teacher Training Corps. I'm working with Delegate David Reed on that. Madam Chairwoman and members of the subcommittee, today I'm presenting SB 454, which will implement a scholarship program for prospective teachers studying at participating public universities in the Commonwealth for the purpose of attracting and retaining quality educators in our high-need elementary and secondary public schools. Virginia is facing an immense problem in terms of teacher shortage. Everybody in this room knows that, which have only been exacerbated by the ongoing pandemic. There is an estimated 1,420 teaching vacancies across the state, along with low retention rates. Only about 3/4 of new teachers return to the classroom after their first year. They're actually having to recruit students from colleges in Fairfax County at this point to come in and help out. It's imperative, I think each of us can agree, that our children have access to the high-quality education that we know Virginia is renowned for, and in order to achieve this, we need to make sure that we have qualified teachers. The Teacher Training Corps will incorporate practices from already successful teacher residency programs at VCU, military ROTC programs, and the Reach Virginia Mentoring Teaching Program, which has provided successful and improving teacher retention rates. These practices will ensure that our teachers are prepared for entering the classroom and offering students the best possible education. In each participating institution, Longwood University, Norfolk State University, Radford University, and Virginia Commonwealth University, 25 students shall be admitted to the TTC and offered a full-ride scholarship covering tuition, room and board, and other fees. In exchange, they would teach at high-need public schools in Virginia for at least as many years as were paid by the scholarship fund. Our teachers deserve to wake up every morning and feel excited to enter the classroom. And when an educator feels passionate about their work, it makes an incredible difference in their students' performance. The Teacher Training Corps will help future educators to feel prepared, supported, and excited about the work that they will be accomplishing, and this can only have a positive effect on students. We have supporters here that would like to speak in favor of the bill, I believe. Madam Chairwoman, I hope it's the pleasure of the committee to report 454 to the full committee to better the education of our children.
Is there a budget amendment with this?
I have submitted a budget amendment, yes, ma'am.
Okay, those in support of Senate Bill 454? If you could come and speak briefly, please.
Madam Chair, I get to sit
Come on over.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. Emily O'Brien with Kemper Consulting. I'm representing Longwood University today. We want to just thank the patron for putting this bill in. We do think it's an important tool. As the patron just said, we are facing a teacher shortage for sure, and also a teacher pipeline shortage, and we really do think that this is a good first step. And just a couple of quick facts about Longwood. About 22% of the total graduate and undergraduate students at Longwood are actually currently enrolled in a teacher prep program. So we do have a lot of students that go into education, and about 92% of our students are Virginians, so they tend to stay in Virginia to teach. And we also currently place student teachers in about 75 school districts all across the Commonwealth. So just want to thank you again for the bill.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Lisa Godotti with Radford University. I'd like to thank the senator for bringing in this legislation. We actually requested to be part of the legislation because we're very passionate about this, and we think that this would be a great initiative for the university. So Radford University has a proud history of preparing teachers for schools in the Commonwealth, and our teacher education graduates are in demand, and employer surveys report that school leaders are extremely satisfied with the preparation of Radford graduates working in Virginia schools. So the goals of the Teacher Training Corps program align very well with Radford's commitment to grow the teaching workforce, as well as the scholarship will alleviate the burden of costs for Radford students. So 34.5% of the students in our teacher education programs are first generation, and many work at least one job to support themselves while attending school. The scholarship will allow recipients to focus on learning to become a teacher without the distraction of having to work. 63% of Radford University students are eligible for financial aid. There's a clear indication that there's a need for financial support for Radford students, and programs such as the Teacher Training Corps will greatly benefit our students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Miles Gordon with VCU. Very briefly, we are in support of the initiative. VCU has the RTR program, Richmond Teacher Residency Program, which fulfills a similar initiative like this in the Central Virginia, Richmond area. So we support the overall initiative in scaling it up. Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, anyone here in opposition? Okay, any questions?
Yeah, Madam Chair, just a question, two questions. One, how do I get to be a co-patron? That's number one. And then number two, what's the cost here? I mean, how much is this going to put in the budget?
So the estimate right now is about $3.1 million for the first year and $6.3 in the second year. It would cover, again, the full tuition, room and board, and all customary and usual fees, and an annual stipend. The staffing responsibilities would be for a 12-member public body that would meet 4 times a year is estimated to be about $175,000 a year. That would have a full-time employee plus supplies, travel, and Chev is charged with staffing the commission that would be created.
Okay.
Okay.
I think it's a pretty good buck, bang for the buck.
Crossborough.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Senator Boysko, I see that you have just a relatively small number of universities participating in this, all of which are public institutions. But we have quite a few universities in the Commonwealth that are private and put out an awful lot of teachers as well. Shenandoah College Conservatory of Music is one. I'm sorry, Shenandoah University now, showing my age. Hampton Sydney, Sweetbriar, Hampton University, Regent, it goes on and on. Any reason why their students shouldn't be entitled to the same type of program? And that goes for every other public institution that issues teaching degrees as well.
Yeah, that's a great question, Senator Cosgrove, and I'm a proud graduate of Hollins University, another one of the independent colleges. So we have a career change incentive program that would provide rising seniors, juniors, and graduate students attending private colleges who choose to pursue a teaching career with a 50% add-on to the base for TAG grants. I think the concept was started as, keeping it tight and within our public university system to begin with. If it is the will of the body to expand that, I'm certainly happy about that and would have no problem.
Well, Madam Chairman, I'm not going to offer the amendment. It'd be probably a little difficult just to do right here in subcommittee, but probably during full committee with your foreknowledge, okay? I think that any college student in the Commonwealth should be entitled to the same opportunity, whatever it is that you'd be giving to a student at Longwood should probably be available to a student at Hollins as well.
You're not going to get any argument from me, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, Madam Chair, and I'm on the board of Sweetbriar College, so my ears sort of perked up. The question is, the way this is set up, the commission determines 25 awardees and 5 alternates for each institution. So you have to have a critical mass of at least 30 interested students. Mm-hmm. So I think maybe that may be the threshold. Other than that, I'd certainly support expanding the scope.
Yeah.
I'll offer an amendment during committee.
All right.
Madam Chair, I'd be happy to work with Senator Cosgrove to figure out a solution for that. Again, we want to expand access to education for all students.
Yes. Especially with the teacher shortage.
Yep.
I move to report, Madam Chairman.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that SB 464 be
That's as amended.
454. It hasn't been amended yet.
As amended.
Be recommended for reporting. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, members of the committee.
Okay, Senator Pillion.
I thought we did.
No, I didn't.
There was no amendment.
There was no amendment.
Oh, never mind. Yeah, thanks. Just reported. Yeah, that's fine.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Senate Bill 597. This comes by way of the Virginia Commission of Arts to eliminate the Virginia Arts Foundation and transfer its powers and fund to the commission. The foundation, do you need a copy of it, John? Okay. Okay. The foundation was established in 97 to be a place to put all the money from, you want me to wait?
No. I think they're.
Okay, from special license plates and the tax checkoff. It was intended to grow annually, and the interest would be spun off and given to the commission. Over the years, it's become a problem. The foundation isn't getting money. The commission, it's the only entity like that in Virginia that has a foundation and a commission with the same board members. So this would eliminate the foundation, so the interest, the money would go directly to the commission. Commission would still use the interest as intended, but it would prevent the steps that are not working. And this came out of a report from the Department of Planning and Budget, and Janet Stark from the commission is here to speak today, if you have any questions.
Okay, any questions?
If I can ask a question of the Senator, Madam Chairman.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Senator, basically what you're doing is striking Arts Foundation and putting in Commission for the Arts in the bill. But you said that the foundation and the commission basically have the same membership now. So what are you accomplishing with that? Because it's going to be the same people dealing with the same issues with the same pot of money.
Yeah, one name.
Yeah.
One name.
Thank you for the opportunity to
Move
speak.
the mic over.
Yeah.
My name is Janet Stark. I'm the Executive Director for the Virginia Commission for the Arts. I've been in place since fall of 2018. So the foundation really is like a fund. It is, according to the enabling legislation, the board of the commission also serves as the board of this foundation. But the way that it typically works is the interest, if you will, would be reverting to the commission in its annual budget. That was not happening historically, and in 2016, an audit by the APA found that the commission was due some $94,000 in back interest. So my predecessor at the time worked an agreement with DPB at the time so that we would take 3 years of those payments, which actually funded a pilot arts and education grant program and still typically does. We assumed that once the problem was identified, it would be fixed and that annual appropriation would happen. But what I've experienced in my time is even the very next year when I assumed the interest would be coming, the appropriation, the budget execution did not go through because it kind of just got held up in paperwork, if you will. So the auditors, again, in our audit just this past fall, recognized that, again, it's not functioning the way it was intended to. My thinking was, again, people give these contributions of funds. I have a license plate with the expectation that these funds are supporting the arts, and if they're not going there, I worry about that from a public transparency standpoint. And 2 years ago, there was added to the budget bill a special revenue item line to the budget with a very conservative estimate of $11,000 so that most easily those funds would automatically revert to the commission for grants programs. This would, again, it's more of a technical adjustment to ensure that interest revenue more directly gets converted to the commission's budget for the ongoing intent of the grant programs.
Madam Chairman? Not sure they'd answer my question.
I'm sorry.
So the commission members are the same members that are now part of the foundation as well.
Yes.
So obviously there's some need for a change. And I'm wondering how much of that is a personnel issue vice a foundation/commission issue.
Quite frankly, the foundation is a duplicitous sort of shell, if you will.
Yeah.
The bill says that the staff serves as the staff of the foundation, and as well as the commission. There's no other function or purpose or thing that foundation has historically done. So I equated it to my experience in nonprofit administration, where you have sort of an endowment, where you have these investments and you're pulling the interest from every year. It seemed to me that was the intent of this sort of vehicle, but it was set up as this organization that isn't really an organization, if you will.
Okay.
So it's not really functioning.
Right, correct.
You okay with it? Everything?
Okay with it.
Everything? Okay.
100%.
All right. Move to report.
So it's been moved and seconded that Senate Bill 597 be recommended for reporting. Is there anybody in opposition? Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Thank you. Okay, Senator Bell. You stand between us and leaving.
I'm going to be brief then. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Move to report.
I like this man. This bill is a bill that I'm bringing at the request of the Department of Military Affairs and the National Guard. As I'm sure many of you know, we've had some real problems with recruiting and retaining, and this is trying to really use a program called the Referral Enlistment Program, which I'll just briefly say was used in by the Indiana National Guard, and from January to June during a trial period, it resulted in getting 41 leads, which were converted into 14 accessions, a 34% conversion rate, which is pretty high. So basically what this does is allows them to use the grant funding up to $50,000 a year to do some recruitment bonuses, and it will help basically have more recruiters by doing this. And again, this is a real challenge for us right now to recruit and retain. Often when people are serving in the National Guard, they're taking a pay cut from their day job. So this is a challenging area, and I do this at their request, and I think we need to give them all the tools we can give them to get this job done. We have some people here who can speak to it if you have any questions.
Are there any questions?
Madam Chair, not a question, but just a comment. I think this is an extraordinarily important bill. It seems like every time we turn around, we're saying, where's the National Guard? Well, the National Guard is not a very large entity, and it is an all-volunteer, part-time service for most National Guardsmen. And Senator Bell hit the nail right on the head. When these men and women are pulled up to active duty, at times they're making much less than their civilian counterpart job would pay them. Some civilian jobs make up the difference, some don't. But this, I think, will go a long way in establishing a better pipeline for the National Guard, so I hope that we'll approve the bill. And I move to report the bill.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we recommend for reporting Senate Bill 256. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
How's that for quick?
That's quick. Thank you.
All right, too easy.
That completes our document.
Yay!